BEC tensions rise. We'll tell you what that could mean for power generation.
Those things would be challenged.
The National Security Minister says violent crimes down over the past 2 months. The boyfriend of a woman slain in her home earlier this week considered a suspect. Plus, a new gospel network launched on Rev TV. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12. Thanks for joining us here at Cable 12 Studios. Here are the stories coming out of the NB12 newsroom this evening. The union representing middle managers at the Bahamas Electricity Corporation is warning executive management that workers may not be available to restore electricity if something were to go awry. This as the latest standoff between union leaders and Executive Chairman Leslie Miller continues. President of the Bahamas Electrical and Utilities Managerial Union, Clinton Minnis, says they will do whatever it takes to get government's attention if changes are made to workers' sick pay. Vonik Toot has that story.
Power cuts could be on the horizon as both the line staff and managers unions here at the Bahamas Electricity Corporation lock horns with Executive Chairman Leslie Miller over sick pay. Days after the line staff union threatened both industrial and legal action, President of the Managers Union Clinton Minnis says they're upping the ante if officials do not meet their demands as it relates to sick pay.
We are facilitators of electricity. But if we are not available to restore or produce, or to restore, produce, or whatever it is, to repair, those things would be challenged.
The unions want employees to continue to receive full salaries from BEC and 1/3 of their salary from the National Insurance Board when on sick leave. Both unions have filed trade disputes with the Labor Department. Minnis says the union has removed all good faith since Wednesday's meeting with executive management representatives, whom he claims informed them that the sick pay change was non-negotiable.
We are prepared to sit down and discuss matters and resolve matters as it is prescribed in the contract. Anyone who refused to speak to us and respect us, we got a problem with them. And so therefore, we will do what we are called to do until we up the ante. Up the ante can mean we will call work to rule. We will do whatever we have to do to get the message until it escalates to the point where we may have to take some other actions.
Minnis says union leaders don't want things to escalate to that point. However, they'll do whatever it takes to get government's attention. He says they took grave exception to comments Miller made about BEC workers in the House of Assembly on Wednesday while debating what government officials touted as the labor-friendly National Tripartite Council bill. He sent this message to BEC officials.
And we dare anybody to touch anybody's salary. You don't touch Bahamian money. You understand? You don't touch Bahamian pension. You don't touch Bahamian benefits. When you touch them, you got problems. Yeah. So payday is the end of the month, and there's a cutoff period before payday. And so the government has the time before the cutoff time to make sure HR, compensation and benefit, does not touch people's money. The holiday season is coming, and people want and need their monies.
Union leaders will return to the Department of Labor for another meeting on November 20th. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonik Toot.
Well, although it may seem the country's crime rate is not much different from years past, recent months saw a significant decline in violent crime. That's according to National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage, who spoke to the press earlier this afternoon. Dana Smith reports.
Nottage said the country has seen a considerable decrease in the amount of violent crime for the months of September and October. He credited the government's various crime-fighting initiatives for the reduction.
I've seen success from the crime plan that we have instituted in the sense that there has been a considerable decrease in the number of violent crimes during the 2 months of September and October.
Notich was asked about the success of the Crime Listening Forum, which was held last August, and the resulting recommendations made public last month. The months of September and October were marred by various shooting and stabbing incidents, including most recently the shooting death of Kurt McCartney, the brother of DNA leader Granville McCartney, on October 24th. And the month of September also saw 2 men dead by September 5th, according to crime reports. Although he did not provide any statistics, Notich acknowledged the country continues to have problems with crime, but is taking steps to continue to reduce it.
It is unrealistic for us to expect that everybody would become perfect and that we would have no incidents. But I think that everybody, in fact, it has been so reduced that the press doesn't even bother me about murders anymore. So put the emphasis on that. That there has been a marked reduction over the past 2 months. But we understand that we will continue to have problems, and we're going to try and beat them.
Notich also said the government will be planning more crime-fighting forums in the coming weeks. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
The government said it will very shortly issue a request for proposals in an effort to search for companies interested in taking over the country's electronic monitoring ankle bracelet system.
The problem with us inheriting it is that we are not aware fully of the conditions that were set and the agreement that they had to provide services. What we have discovered is that if you don't put something in the request for proposal, you may be expecting a service that you do not get. So we are, having had the experience of the past several years, we are now trying to make sure that we place in our request for proposal all those matters with which we were dissatisfied under the current contract.
Now, Notich did not give an exact figure, but said the government has already received many submissions from interested parties ahead of the RFP. However, he said the government is not paying attention to those submissions as he is not sure if they will meet the demands of the RFP.
Mind you, we haven't even put the request out yet, but companies knowing that there is a likelihood that there will be a request for proposal have made submissions to us, but we're not paying any attention to those because we don't even know that the submissions they've made are responding to what we will be requesting. So once we put the request out, then we'll be asking people to bid at that time. And those are the ones that we will consider, those persons who submit bids as a result of the request for proposal.
ICS Security Concepts is the company currently responsible for the electronic monitoring system, and that contract officially ends on November 19th. The minister could not say if ICS would be submitting a bid to continue its service, but the government has spoken to ICS about continuing its service until the RFP process is complete. Well, a man initially believed to be a shooting victim left to mourn the death of his girlfriend and her daughter is now a suspect. Police are questioning the boyfriend of 34-year-old Angelique Berry, who was shot and killed on Woods Alley off Market Street on Wednesday. Berry's 14-year-old daughter, Indiana Forbes, was also shot dead. The 31-year-old man was shot in the leg during the incident. Now, Superintendent Paul Roll said yesterday that police took the man into custody on Wednesday and were questioning him. Assistant Commissioner of Police Anthony Ferguson said at the murder scene that police suspected the 2 armed men broke into the apartment and began shooting. Police said the 2 victims were shot in the upper body. Ferguson said on Wednesday that police had taken 2 people into custody. These deaths pushed the country's murder count for 2013 up to 93. C.C. Sweeting Senior High School Principal Joan Gray said the school plans to hold a memorial sometime next week to honor Indiana. Well, each year, dozens of Bahamians lose their lives on the streets as a result of traffic accidents, but even more have been seriously injured and live to tell the story. Christina McNeil has the story of a woman who nearly lost her life and is using her experience to improve the lives of others.
My advice to persons who are listening is to remember that life is precious and it can be taken away or changed in a second, and your whole world changes. Seatbelt saved my life because although I had to be cut out of the car, the seatbelt kept me secure.
Disability Affairs consultant Iris Adderley recalls the night she had to be cut out of a car 31 years ago. Her physical wounds were cared for in the intensive care unit of a Texas hospital. Then she began the painful process of rehabilitation over 18 months. But the emotional wounds are still fresh.
Ended up with a broken neck at the 4th and 5th vertebrae, smashed jaw, a collapsed lung. Also, my spine was injured. They had my husband contact my family in the Bahamas to come over to say their goodbyes. And even though it's been 31 years, it's still pretty painful. It's painful because I think from where I've come to where doctors gave up on. I've got a wire, my neck is literally wired back together. I've got a plate in my jaw, and so inside of my jaw and my mouth is stitched back together. I have a curvature from the spine. I still have, when the environment is not very healthy, I still have breathing problems.
Adderley is a quadriplegic, having lost the function of her lower body and limbs. She says the adjustment was difficult, having lost everything that was important to her, but it was by hitting rock bottom that she forged a closer connection with God.
I lost my marriage. I had given up on life. I wanted to commit suicide, and the only reason I didn't was because I physically couldn't. But I'm 5'8", with heels on. I'm 6'2". I've done professional modeling, radio, television, and so my looks was everything to me. It took me from not wanting to have anything to do with God because I couldn't understand why that had happened, to from rejecting God to getting back to the point where when persons say you're down and you have nowhere to look but up. And that's where I was, had nowhere to look but up. Because everything I thought was worthwhile was taken away. As a quadriplegic, your hands don't work. I tell people all the time, they see me sitting up straight, but they don't realize that if I move my hands, I will literally fall down. And so they don't see that. All they see is the polished part of it. But it comes with strength and determination and realizing that you cannot allow people to define who you are.
Adderley used her marketing skills and her disability to help improve the outlook and quality of life of those living with disabilities. She worked full-time and took evening classes to earn her qualifications as a psychologist and eventually returned to the Bahamas.
Now she's working with the Disability Affairs Unit and raising awareness about road safety. Adderley says the accident 31 years ago drastically changed her life, but wearing a seatbelt also saved her. Her advice, never take off without one. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.